on to the fun part of user authentication, which is creating our JWT access token. All right, so let's go ahead and move back to the authentication documentation within NestJS, and we are ready to move on to the JWT portion of our auth system. All right, so yep, the idea of this is that with a username and password, okay, that is going to be our sign in or log in route. We'll return a JWT for use in subsequent protected API endpoints, okay? So we need to create the JWT now. So I'm going to add the NestJS JWT package to my project, and then I am going to continue. All right, it looks like we need to inject the JWT service into the auth service. So we're in the auth service here. Let's go ahead and make another private JWT service. Save. Then let's import the JWT service. There we go. All right. So this is their sign-in route. So we are doing the sign-up route right now, so it'll be a little bit different. We'll move on to that after. But here is the part that is important for us, okay? We are going to create a payload, all right, with the user's ID and username, all right? And that will help us identify the user. And then we will create an access token with that payload, all right? So let's go ahead and make that function. Okay, so we're gonna say async create access token, and then we're gonna pass in the user. All right, we're going to say const, yeah, I'm gonna just copy this. All right, that looks good. Okay, so instead of returning fake token here, we are going to return create access token, and then we're going to pass in our user. So that's going to be here. Well, do we need the full user? We just need the user ID and the username. So I guess let's pass that in. Which we need from, let's just do the user. Sometimes I go back and forth on how I want to do this. So we're gonna say const user equals await this dot user service create user, okay, and then we'll say return await this dot create access token user. All right, let's just go ahead and console log here to make sure that we're getting the user object back the way that in the format that we want, or we'll have to go ahead and edit the create user function or user service, okay? But we still have more that we need to set up for our JWT service. All right, so they are going to be using a constant secret to do it, but I have a secret in my env file, so you're gonna go ahead and create that because we don't want to publicly expose our secret. All right. I'm probably going to hard code it in this video though, because we'll do this config setup in the next one. So just keep in mind that I'm not ever going to push a hard coded secret to GitHub. All right, so within our auth module, let's head over to our auth module. All right, within our imports, we want to register our JWT module. I'm going to import our JWT module. And then we don't have a JWT const secret, so we are going to just do a fake hard-coded secret for now. Perfect. That looks good. All right. So now we should be able to hit our endpoint and get our access token potentially. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. We're going to take a look at this create user function because we're logging our user here. So now we're not going to be logging our user in both spots. That's going to make it a little bit easier. So let's open our Postman and we're going to do our sign up. All right, remember, we're going to do our sign up with the same person over and over for ease for testing, but we will need to add in this logic to check if the username or the email already exists because those should be unique values. All right, so before we were returning a fake token, let's see what we're returning now. And look, looks like we are returning a solid access token. That's awesome. Okay. So it looks like though we are returning it with access token. So we might need to edit the front end a little bit to do that. So I am going to try this instead. All right, so now just the token comes back. All right, we'll see if that's working, but yep, ID 5, and the user comes back fine. Okay, perfect. All right, so the purpose of this then is that we want to be able to use this token to authenticate future users making requests to our API. So we want to have an auth guard in place. So that's where we're ready to go next. But let's go ahead and return to our Trello board and we create a sign up function that creates a new user in the user table and returns a JWT. We did that. All right, I'm going to do one last test. Let's go ahead and check where my front end is. It's on localhost 3002. So I am going to go ahead and open localhost 3002 up. All right, and then let's go ahead and give this a try. So if this works, we should have our token saved on the front end. So I'm gonna get rid of that. All right, let's pull this open a little bit further. So test, test, test. And then submit. And awesome, our token gets saved. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and check our database to make sure that that came in properly. Let's view all of our users. Test, it looks hashed to me. Okay, perfect. All right, so before we move on to the auth guard, we're going to finish up this sign up function so that way our sign up function is solid. Okay, so I'm going to add an item and I'm going to say add error handling to sign up if username or email already exists. I like to edit my Trello board as I go because this gives me a good structure for the next time I make a project. I can go ahead and open this Trello board and be like, oh, okay, these were all the things I did for user authentication. I can then copy and paste them over. So by adding the things that we missed when we did our project planning, we can not miss it in the future. Okay, So we need to check if the username or the email already exists. So we're going to head over to the user service, and we are going to make some methods within there to async find user by username. Okay, so then we're going to pass in a username, which is going to be a string, and we are going to return await this dot user repository dot find by, and then we're going to say where username. All right, then we are also going to create one find user by email. All right, so now we have these two. We're going to go ahead and test them within our auth service. Okay, so check if, so we're going to say const username exists is equal to await this dot user service dot find user by username, and we're going to pass in sign up dot dto dot, go ahead and make this username. Okay, and then we're going to say, well, let's just say const user, okay? And then we're going to do console.log user exists. Let's just do user. Okay. Too many users. Okay, so we are gonna repeat this process, but we're not gonna add the error yet. Okay, so I should, in my API here, in the logs, I should click send, and then I should see the user that comes back here. Okay, so if you can see, we have an array come back with 5 users in it. So that means there are already 5 users within the database with this username. But let's go ahead and change this to unique. Okay, so when I click enter, I'm going to get an empty array. Okay, so we're going to say user exists if that's dot length is greater than 0. Okay, so we need to take this out and do dot length. Okay, so now we should be able to click yes, and then user exists true. Okay, so let's do unique 1. User exists false. Okay, perfect. So then let's call this username exists. Username exists. Okay, and then we're gonna copy and paste this and then change it for email. Okay, this find user by email, sign up dto.email. Okay, and then we are going to console.log email exists. All right. Okay, so if I click send, email exists is true. Let's make a new email. Email exists false. Perfect. Okay, so that works. So then we're going to say if username exists, going to throw, all right, let's look up NestJS errors. All right. So this is forbidden. So NestJS has a bunch of different error, like exception filters already. So we can go ahead and just use their errors. Okay, so bad request, unauthorized. So we've already used all unauthorized. So we're gonna just go through and look and try to figure out, like, I'm a teapot. Okay, so I think we can go with either, we can go bad request. So we're gonna say throw new bad request exception. And then we're gonna pass in username already exists. Okay, then we're gonna do if email exists, we're gonna throw new bad request exception, and then we're going to say email already exists. All right. So then now let's go ahead and test this with Postman first. Okay, so I'm going to actually clear my database here. Okay, so there should be no Callie Stowe's Cup already here. So let's start with Callie Stowe's Cup. Okay, and we should get an access token back. Perfect, access token back. Let's go ahead and add it to the database. Perfect. All right, now let's just try this exact one again. All right, and then we get our error, bad request, username already exists. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's change the username. They keep past the email, and let's click send. Email already exists. Perfect. So then let's bring up the database. All right, and they didn't get added. So that is exactly what we were looking for. All right, so now let's go back to our React app then, and we are going to try to sign in with, we're gonna try to create an account with the same value. Okay, so let's try with calliestowscup@gmail.com. Test username. Okay, and then submit, and we get an error. Okay, but this is what the issue is now. We need to make sure we are accounting for catching errors on the front end, so that way a user never sees this. A user instead should see a toast. Okay, so we're gonna say let's do throw bad request error if username or email already exists in sign up function. Okay, so we threw that. So now we want to do create error toast if username or email already exists. On sign up form. Okay, so now we need to, instead of doing this, we need to go ahead to the front end, okay, to our sign up, and we need to add a catch block so we can catch our errors. Okay, so we post it and then we respond to it. All right, but we also then can catch. Okay, so we're going to first console log the error. Okay, then we are going to do a toast. I'm going to guess that the status is error, and we'll see if it gets mad at me. And we're just going to make a generic error. We're just going to make a generic toast right now. Okay, so you can also see that this didn't clear when we erred. Okay, so we also will want to do the same thing here. So I'm going to take this and copy it, and I'm going to add it here. Okay. All right, let's give it a try. So I'm going to submit. It cleared it, and it gave me a toast that said there was an error. Okay. If I go and look at here, oh wait, I am going to add my error here. So let's go ahead and repeat this. Let's do, that's fine. Do the same email here. All right. So now when we submit, we should see the error, and we see that it's a bad request. And then if we go into error response.data.message, we can see username already exists. So we could, instead of there was an error, we could do error.response.data.message here. So that way, if I do submit, it's going to tell me email already exists here. Okay, so I am going to not show that because I don't want to tell hackers that the email already exists. I would need to look out into that a little bit more as to what I want to show in the case that a username exists or an email exists. That would be a question at work that I would pose to product and to design. I would ask, I'd say, oh, okay, I need the description for the toast, okay? Because I wouldn't create that myself unless it's my own app like it is, okay? And maybe on here, I'm going to catch an error, and then I'm going to make different conditions for like, okay, if this is a bad request error, we'll show this toast. If this is a unauthorized error, we'll show this toast, which there's not going to be an unauthorized error for creating an account, but you get what I mean. All right, so we now created our error toast, okay? And in the next video, we will wrap up our sign up route by adding the auth guard and testing that it works. And then we can move on to our other user stories. All right, happy coding.